Most people assume their thoughts stay inside their minds, private, harmless sparks that vanish as soon as they appear. But that's not how reality works. The moment a thought forms, it doesn't stop with you. It leaves your mind and enters the quantum field as a vibrational imprint, like a ripple traveling across water, real and measurable. Every thought you've ever had, even the ones you ignored, sends a signature into the field. Nothing is lost. Nothing disappears. Thoughts become energetic broadcasts that start shaping your future long before you see any evidence. Your thoughts travel further than your voice ever could. They move into spaces your senses can't reach, but your future can feel. Quantum physics calls this information propagation. A thought isn't a metaphor, it's information. And information can't be contained. It spreads, interacts with surrounding fields, and creates a pattern. Your nervous system codes it with emotion, and the quantum field receives it as a frequency. Before you even finish thinking, your future begins rearranging itself around that signal. But here's what most people miss. The field doesn't respond to the words of your thought. It responds to the frequency beneath them. It doesn't hear, "I want success." It senses whether that desire comes from fear, desperation, openness, confidence, or coherence. A thought carried with clarity enters the field like a seed that knows exactly what it will grow into. A thought wrapped in fear enters like static, scattered, inconsistent, unable to take root. Every thought plants something. The question is, what? Science and spirituality converge perfectly here. Neuroscience shows that every thought triggers micro shifts in your emotional chemistry. These shifts alter your heart rhythm, your electromagnetic field, your hormones. Your internal state becomes an external broadcast. Your thoughts don't just exist in your mind. They reshape your biology, which shapes the frequency you emit into reality. The quantum field doesn't wait for repetition, visualization, or meditation. The first broadcast is enough. It's the spark, the ignition, the first vibration telling the universe, here is a direction. Whether that seed grows into a clear outcome or dissolves into noise depends on what happens next, how consistently you broadcast it, and whether your identity matches it. Here's something fascinating. Once a thought reaches the field, it doesn't just move outward, it echoes back. The field begins returning subtle feedback, adjusting your intuition, shifting your emotional tone, presenting micro-opportunities aligned with the seed you planted. You feel it as sudden clarity or discomfort, an idea appearing out of nowhere, a sense of expansion or contraction. The field always responds to the seed, but most people miss the echo because it's quiet, subtle, and comes before anything external appears. Early manifestation feels like nothing is happening because the feedback loop is invisible. The field reorganizes probability behind the scenes before reality reveals itself. It's like a seed growing underground long before it breaks the surface. The most important transformations happen where you cannot see them. The universe works in silence before it works in sight. Here's the true secret. A thought isn't powerful because you think it. It becomes powerful because you become the person who can hold it. The moment it leaves your mind, it creates a vibrational blueprint in the field. Whether that blueprint manifests depends entirely on your alignment with it. That alignment starts internally, quietly, subtly, in the shifts you feel before anything in life changes. And here's the open loop that shapes everything. If you truly understood what your thoughts do the moment they enter the quantum field, you would never think casually again. Once a thought leaves you, it begins shaping probability, and probability eventually becomes reality for the identity that matches its frequency. What the field does next is almost entirely unknown to most. People assume nothing is happening when they can't see results. They think manifestation only begins when results appear, a sign, an opportunity, a breakthrough. But reality is already responding long before anything is visible. The truth is, the quantum field does its most important work long before you ever see a single sign. It expands your thoughts quietly, invisibly, and with precision, beyond what your senses are designed to detect. I call this stage quantum germination. It's the moment a thought becomes more than a thought, a subtle structure of energy forming a probability that begins influencing your future. Like a seed planted underground, all the crucial growth happens in the dark, where your eyes can't track it. Quantum physics calls this wave amplification. Once a thought enters the field, it doesn't stay static. It spreads, resonates, and attracts compatible frequencies while repelling conflicting ones. It seeks coherence. Slowly, it organizes into a pattern that reality can eventually collapse into form. Early on, this process is fragile. Doubt, fear, overthinking, or emotional contradiction can scramble the signal before it stabilizes. That's why the beginning feels quiet. The field keeps the seed hidden, invisible to your old identity, the part of you that doubts, questions, or sabotages. This isn't punishment, it's preservation. Silence protects growth. Every manifestation you've ever had began in this hush. Here's the fascinating part. Your body senses quantum germination before your mind does. Long before anything shifts externally, your internal state begins subtly reorganizing. Your breath deepens. Emotional charge around the desire softens. Your nervous system relaxes, intuition sharpens. These are not coincidences. They're the first signs that your thought seed has entered the field and is already being expanded. Neuroscience explains this as predictive recalibration, your brain receiving microsignals of alignment and adjusting your inner world, emotions, expectations, and state to match the reality being formed. Because these updates are subtle, you might not notice progress. You might feel calm, neutral, or even less driven. You may think momentum is slowing, but in reality, coherence is growing. Coherence is what allows the seed to sprout. The quantum field responds fastest when your thought is emotionally consistent, not loud, dramatic, or forceful, but steady. Consistency is the soil where a thought becomes a timeline. It strengthens the seed until it breaks through into physical reality. This is why some manifestations appear suddenly. They weren't random or instant. They were growing silently beneath your awareness, aligning people, opportunities, and probabilities, while you thought nothing was happening. The universe doesn't show you the seed before it's ready. It waits until your identity can hold the fruit. Most people misunderstand this. During the germination phase, your manifestation isn't waiting for you. It's already growing, unfolding, becoming real. You aren't waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for your signal to stabilize enough so it can finalize the collapse. Every thought you have either nourishes the seed or disrupts it. When you revisit a desire with fear, doubt, or insecurity, you send conflicting frequencies into the field. They collide, scatter, and destabilize the blueprint, sometimes uprooting the seed entirely. But when you revisit the thought with calm, clarity, or quiet confidence, the field amplifies it. It widens the probability. It accelerates growth. That's why the germination phase feels subtle emotionally, yet potent vibrationally. You're not meant to feel excitement. Excitement creates spikes. Spikes create interference. You're meant to feel steady, grounded, quietly certain, the frequency the quantum field can build upon. If you've felt this quietness lately, a soft inner readiness, a gentle expectation, a loss of urgency, that's your confirmation. Your thought seed is sprouting underground. The invisible phase is already doing its work. To anchor this moment in your nervous system, declare it. Type in the comments. My thought seeds are already growing, not as a ritual, not as a wish, but as recognition of the truth. The moment my thoughts reached the quantum field, reality began shifting. What the field does next depends on how I hold myself in the silence. There's a stage in manifestation almost nobody recognizes. Not because it's mystical, but because it's quiet. It's the phase where your desire is no longer just a thought, no longer just a seed, but not yet visible in reality. It exists between worlds, forming in the field, reorganizing your future, adjusting your timeline. And here's the most important rule during this phase. One most people break. Stay silent. Silence isn't superstition. Silence is physics. When a thought reaches the quantum field, it begins stabilizing as a vibrational wave. At first, this wave is fragile, coherent enough to grow, but vulnerable to interference. Every time you prematurely speak about your desire, you expose the wave to external fields, expectations, and doubts. Sound carries vibration. Words carry frequency. Sharing too early with someone whose energy isn't aligned creates friction in the wave you're trying to stabilize. In quantum mechanics, this is called measurement interference. Observing, judging, or interacting with a wave too soon can collapse it in the wrong direction. When you share your desire prematurely, other people's doubts and fears collide with your signal before it has matured. And suddenly, the wave that was forming your future collapses back toward your old identity. This is why silence accelerates manifestation. Silence protects coherence. Early-stage manifestations don't need encouragement. They need containment. They need shielding from external noise so they can grow strong internally. They need your energy, not anyone else's. Your belief, not someone else's doubt. Your alignment, not someone else's confusion. A seed doesn't grow faster because you dig it up and show it to people. It grows because you leave it underground, safe from anything that could disturb its roots. The quantum field works the same way. Your thought seed is rooting itself into your identity. It must stabilize emotionally inside you before it can stabilize externally. If you pull it to the surface too early, you introduce noise and weaken the coherence. And coherence is everything. Neuroscience mirrors this principle perfectly. Speaking prematurely about a goal triggers dopamine, the chemical of reward. Your brain interprets talking as progress. You feel satisfied. You feel validated. But that dopamine hit actually drains your inner drive because your brain thinks part of the future is already achieved socially. Momentum leaks outward. Intensity, focus, and precision are lost. This is why people who talk the most about their goals rarely achieve them. They narrate instead of embody. Silence keeps your manifestation in your body. It keeps your frequency focused. It anchors your identity. It keeps your signal precise. By staying silent, your nervous system maintains a clear line between who you are and who you are becoming. You build an internal container strong enough to hold the manifestation once it arrives. You allow your intuition to guide you without interference. You create a field around your desire that is protected, stable, and coherent. And coherence collapses timelines faster than anything else. Silence is not secrecy, it's incubation. You're not hiding your desires out of fear. You're protecting them with wisdom, support, validation, reassurance, applause. They belong to the ego, not your future self. Your future self doesn't need external validation. It needs internal alignment. The universe doesn't respond to how many people you tell. It responds to how consistently you embody the signal. Here's what most people never grasp. When you speak about your manifestation too early, you shift from embodiment to explanation. Manifestation collapses through embodiment, not explanation. When you explain, energy leaves your body. When you embody, energy stays in your field. This is why the most powerful transformations happen in silence. Why the most aligned people move mysteriously. Why their breakthroughs seem sudden. Why their timelines appear to shift instantly. It's not luck. It's not miracle. It's coherence protected by silence. If you felt the urge to keep something to yourself, a desire, a vision, a shift, trust it. That urge is your intuition recognizing the fragility of the wave. It's your future self telling you this needs to grow inside you before anyone else touches it. When the time comes, when the wave stabilizes, when the frequency matures, when your identity can hold the reality without collapsing, you won't need to tell anyone. They will see it. This is why silence speeds up manifestation. It protects coherence. Early-stage manifestations don't need encouragement. They need containment. They need a shield from outside noise so they can grow strong internally. They need your energy, not someone else's. Your belief, not another person's doubt. Your alignment, not someone else's confusion. A seed doesn't grow faster because you dig it up and show it to people. It grows because you leave it underground, protected from everything that could disturb its roots. The quantum field works the same way. Your thought seed is rooting itself into your identity. To stabilize, it needs to settle emotionally inside you each time you think about it. If you pull it to the surface too soon, you weaken the root. You introduce interference into a system that was building coherence. And coherence is everything. Neuroscience backs this up. Speaking about a goal prematurely triggers dopamine, the chemical of reward. Your brain interprets talking as progress. You feel satisfied. You feel validated. But that dopamine hit actually drains your inner drive. The brain thinks part of the future is already achieved socially. Momentum that should move inward leaks outward. You lose intensity, focus, and precision. This is why people who talk the most about their goals rarely achieve them. They narrate instead of embody. Silence, on the other hand, keeps the manifestation in your body. It keeps your frequency focused. It anchors your identity. It keeps your signal sharp. Staying silent maintains a clean line between who you are and who you're becoming. You build an internal container strong enough to hold the manifestation when it arrives. You let your intuition guide you without interference. You create a field around your desire that is protected, stable, coherent. Coherence collapses timelines faster than anything else. Silence is not secrecy, it's incubation. You're not hiding your desires out of fear. You're protecting them out of wisdom. Support, validation, applause. These belong to the ego, not your future self. Your future self needs alignment, not approval. The universe doesn't respond to how many people you tell. It responds to how consistently you embody the signal. Here's what most people miss. When you speak about your manifestation too early, you shift from embodiment to explanation. Manifestation collapses through embodiment, not explanation. When you explain, energy leaves your body. When you embody, energy stays in your field. This is why the most powerful transformations happen in silence. Why the most aligned people move mysteriously. Why breakthroughs seem sudden. Why timelines shift instantly. It's not luck. It's not a miracle. It's coherence protected by silence. If you felt the urge to keep something to yourself, a desire, a vision, a shift, trust it. That urge is your intuition sensing the fragility of the wave. It's your future self telling you this needs to grow inside you before anyone else touches it. When the wave stabilizes, when the frequency matures, when your identity can hold the reality without collapsing, you won't need to tell anyone. They will see it. Your manifestation only becomes visible once it becomes inevitable, and inevitability is built in silence. There's a moment in every manifestation journey when the universe stops feeling distant and starts feeling responsive. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you become clearer. When your thoughts enter the quantum field, it responds instantly. But the speed of physical results depends entirely on one thing: whether you can hold the identity that matches what you've planted. This is why embodiment is the final stage, the point where your internal signal stabilizes enough for reality to reorganize around you. The field isn't waiting for your desire, it's waiting for your coherence. And coherence comes from identity, not intention. Think of the quantum field as a mirror made of possibility. It doesn't reflect what you wish for. It reflects who you are. Your baseline emotion, your consistent tone, the vibration beneath your thoughts. That's what it mirrors. Manifest from a fractured identity, and your signal becomes blurry. Your frequency is contradictory. The mirror returns a mixture of outcomes. But when you step into embodied alignment, your signal is unmistakable, and the universe has no choice but to adjust. Identity is the anchor of manifestation. Every thought you've planted, every intention you've broadcast, every desire you've sent into the field is waiting for one thing. The moment your identity becomes fertile ground for the seed to take root. The universe doesn't deliver to who you pretend to be. It delivers to who your nervous system believes you are. Neuroscience shows that identity isn't a mental concept. It's a physiological state, a pattern of emotional predictions your brain uses to define who you are. When your identity upgrades, your brain rewires. Your breath changes. Your posture shifts. Your emotional responses evolve. Your intuition strengthens. You become predictable to the universe, not by repeating the past, but by aligning internally with the future you're creating. This is why staying silent was essential. Silence protects the new identity while it's forming. Talking too early exposes your transformation to old patterns, old timelines, and energies that no longer represent your path. Silence lets your new self grow roots before reality interacts with it. Now, once the seed has grown inside you, silence transforms into embodiment. Embodiment is living as the person who has already received what you once hoped for. Not pretending, not forcing, not acting, simply being. When your identity matches your desire, the quantum field stops hesitating. The wave collapses cleanly. Probability becomes form. Thought becomes reality. You'll know embodiment when everything feels different. You stop waiting. You stop gripping. You stop asking for signs. You stop chasing outcomes. You stop narrating your transformation. You feel a grounded certainty that doesn't depend on evidence. Your future stops feeling like the future. It feels like home. You move as someone who isn't hoping anymore. You're remembering. This is when manifestations appear out of nowhere. It's not magic. It's coherence finally expressing itself physically. People might assume it was sudden, easy, or lucky. They won't see the inner reorganization, the silence, the identity shifts, the emotional releases, the moments you held your new self while your old self tried to pull you back. Here's what most people never grasp. Manifestation isn't about attracting, it's about becoming. When you become the person whose life naturally contains what you desire, reality adjusts without strain. The quantum field doesn't send you gifts, it synchronizes with your signature. Manifestation is the byproduct of identity, and if you feel that subtle shift inside, that quiet readiness, that deeper grounding, that sense of inevitability, that's your signal. Your identity is beginning to match the frequencies you've been planting. You're becoming the version of yourself the field has been waiting for. To deepen this alignment, strengthen your embodied identity, dissolve interference from old timelines, and broadcast a signal the universe can't ignore. The next step isn't more thinking, it's more coherence, embodiment at a deeper level. Everything you need to anchor this shift, stabilize your new frequency, and step fully into the identity your future requires is in the Awaken Your Quantum Power ebook and its practical companion guide. They're designed for this moment, when you're ready to move from knowing to becoming. The link is in the pinned comment. If it resonates, follow it. This is where your next reality begins, not with a thought, but with the identity that grows from it.